Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so this is going to be the final video in the St. Petersburg watercolour paints. This is going to be, well, a shootout video if you like, and we're going to be comparing the Sonnet, the Ladoga and White Nights. I always keep saying Ladoga, but it's Ladoga. So if I keep referring to it as Ladoga, I'm sorry about that. But anyway, they're the three brands of St. Petersburg paints there. Now, if this is the first time you've seen one of my review videos or your first time on my channel, I've just very recently made a review video on the Sonnet and the Ladoga paints, and several years ago I've done a review of the White Nights paints. And I've put all of these videos together in one playlist, and that'll be linked in the description below, so you can go through the entire lot and watch all of the reviews and everything all in one place. And I also must quickly mention as well that I was sent the Ladoga paints and the Sonnet paints by a company called Crafty Studio. They sent me these paints for review, and I'll be leaving a link to their website in the description below as well. And again, quickly, just for transparency, I've had to say this at every video, so it's probably going to be boring for you if you keep following along, but I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get any cuts or any kickback or anything if you buy through that link. I get no commission whatsoever, and the paints were sent to me free of charge to do an honest review with, so I have no cash incentive of saying nice things about the company or the paints. Again, it's a 100% honest opinion, honest review, so you've got no worries that I'm trying to sell you anything, okay? So if you've watched the last two videos, you'll have seen the swatch cards for the Sonnet and the Ladoga paints. I've just swatched out all of my White Nights paints there. Now don't worry, this isn't going to be one of those videos where I just sit through and we talk about pigment numbers. Don't worry, it's not going to be anything like that. In fact, I've got some very good information for you, which I think you're going to be really pleased to hear. I've done a lot of research on these three sets of paint, and I've uncovered quite a few things about what's going on here. So the plot thickens. Now, as I suspected, as we know, let's say the Sonnet range are sold as a student quality paint, which, to my mind, when I was using them, they feel one of the best student quality paints I've ever used. In fact, I do lots of Q&A videos over on my Patreon page, and one of the questions I get asked quite regularly is, what's the best paints to go for? Is it student quality or is it artist quality? I hear all the time that it's false economy to buy student paints and all the rest of it. And every time I give the same answer. And I think that these days, not so much so 30 years ago when I first started, but these days the bridge between student quality and artist quality has got narrower and narrower and narrower with a lot of manufacturers' paints. That's what I'm seeing anyway, and particularly so with the St. Petersburg paints. The gap between the Sonnet range and the White Nights range, which are the artist quality range, is very small. There's not a lot in it. I'm going to show you that tonight, actually. And that's not to say that artist quality paints are getting less and less and less, and they're getting more like student quality paints. No, it's the other way around. It's the student quality paints which are getting more and more and more and getting closer to the level of artist quality, in my opinion. That's, like I said, that's just what I've seen over 30 years. I can remember 30 years ago, we didn't have all of these different brands of paints. I used to walk into my local art shop, and it was either Winsor & Newton artist quality or student quality, or Dale Rowney artist quality or student quality. That was it. That was the only choice I had personally 30 years ago when I first started, and I tried all of them. And like I say, back in the day, you really could tell the difference between artist quality and student quality, but not so much today. I don't know if you've found that or if it's just me, but you really do notice it, with the St. Petersburg paints. That's why I was very interested to see about the Ladoga paints, because they're actually classed as artist quality watercolours, but without the cadmium pigments and the cobalt pigments. Basically, the toxic pigments have been taken out, and they work out to be a lot cheaper actually than the White Nights. Now, I've got all of the information you need here on the Sonnets, the Ladoga and the White Nights, of the various size sets you can get, whether you can get them in just a card box or with a plastic palette or the metal palette, all the different sizes, all the prices to go with it. I'm going to be reeling all that off for you in this video. So we might as well start actually with Ladoga while I've got them out. The 24 set in a cardboard box. So we've not got a palette with these, it's just the paints. Okay. 24 artist quality colours for £25.15. Okay, just remember that, because I'll be coming back to that a little later on in the video when we do a comparison. Now, if we look at the swatch card, you probably notice as well that since the last reviews, I've actually written down the pigment numbers on there, and I've put a number underneath each title. That number is the Lightfast rating. How St. Petersburg do it is a 1 to 3 star system. 1 star being not very Lightfast, 2 star being medium Lightfast, and a 3 star being the most Lightfast. So these are classed as an artist quality paint, which is blatantly obvious to see when you swatch them out and you use them. But here's the catch: you can only buy them in a 24 card set like this. You can't buy them in a metal palette, and you can't buy them open stock. This is the only set of Ladoga paints that you can actually buy, as of the time of making this video, that is. So there's a lot of confusion with the White Nights paints and the Ladoga paints, because the White Nights paints, you can buy them open stock, individual pans and tubes as well, but not so with the Ladoga paints. Now it gets confusing because not only are the Ladoga called a different name to the White Nights, when really they're virtually the same pigments. Some of the names here have been changed in the Ladoga range compared to the White Nights range, but in fact they share exactly the same pigment numbers. And in some cases it's the same with the Sonnet range as well. So if we just look at pigment numbers for a minute and we just kind of make these comparisons between them, some of them are really obvious, like ultramarine, for example, PB29, ultramarine here, PB29, ultramarine here, again, PB29. It's a common thing for all ultramarine, is just PB29. Now if we take this colour here, for example, golden, which is PY3 and PO, is that 13 or 3? PO13, that's right. It looks very close to the Sonnet orange. Very close. Apart from this one has obviously got more yellow in it, which is PY3. Now, I haven't actually got golden in the White Nights, but if you look on the website, you go on the website, you'll actually see that the golden in the White Nights range is exactly the same pigment number. It's exactly the same paint. But yet you can't buy it individually in the Ladoga range, but you can in the White Nights range. And I've gone through a lot of the artist quality paints in the White Nights range and compared pigment numbers with the Ladoga range, and like I say, they're identical in a lot of ways, but just named different colours. Some of them are named the same, like for example red ochre in the White Nights, which is PR102, is still called red ochre PR102 pigment number in the Ladoga range. But there are a few little differences, like for example the umber in the Ladoga range is PBR7 and it's a single pigment colour, but in the White Nights range it's PY43, PBR7 and PBK7, so it's a 3 pigment colour in the artist quality White Nights range. So there are a few little differences, but in general, for example burnt umber, both the same pigment number. The green or the Russian green, again, both the same pigment number. Emerald green, the same. There was something else, where is it? Oh yeah, sepia, again, the same pigment numbers there. Scarlet red is PR188, and it's just called scarlet in the Ladoga range, but it's the same pigment number, PR188. So you could be confused into thinking, oh, that's two different colours. We've got a scarlet light and then a scarlet, but in fact they're both the same, and if you put them both together you can kind of see, you know, that's the colours there. You can kind of see there's no difference with them, hardly at all. That one might be a little bit more stronger pigmented, so why it's called Scarlet Light and that one's just called Scarlet, I don't know. I'd have thought it would have been the other way round. But essentially it's exactly the same paint to my eyes. Now it gets interesting when we look at the yellow colours in the Ladoga range, because this is where they've omitted their cadmium yellows and, you know, the cadmium pigments. So we've got lemon, which is PY3, and we've got one that's just called yellow, which is PY154. Now, bearing in mind, like I say, Ladoga paints, you can't buy them open stock, so if you buy this set and you use all of these paints up, you're not going to be able to replace those two yellows there. You're going to be able to replace pretty much all of the other colours by using the White Nights pans to replace them with, which you can buy individually. And like I say, there is no difference, hardly at all, with any of them. But if you want to go for a cadmium and cobalt free palette, you're going to be struggling with Ladoga because you can't buy them open stock. But if you look on the White Nights website and you look at their yellows, they might be called under a different name but actually have the same pigment number. So that's called lemon, that's called yellow. So you might get something like Hansa yellow and yellow pale or something, but it'll be the same pigment numbers. So you could easily actually replace the same colours but just with White Nights paints. So essentially, you know, although these come in a card box, they don't come wrapped with a label or anything. Whereas the White Nights paints do, they come wrapped with the White Nights label, but essentially these are White Nights paints but without the White Nights label. That's all they are. And this set has been put together just to exclude toxic pigments, and they've done a few little name changes here and there, and that's it. That's really the only difference. So essentially you're just buying White Night paints that have been renamed slightly different to make it look like, you know, they are a separate set called Ladoga. Which, like I say, in all fairness, some of the pigments do differ. So it's not a straight swap at all. Some of the pigments do differ. You know, there are a few little variations in pigment numbers with some of them, but for the most part, 90% of it, they are exactly the same pigment numbers and the same paints. And as you can see, you know, looking at the pigment charts there, the swatch cards, I can't see any difference whatsoever in pigment load or anything like that at all. They both look identical to me. You know, if we look at the ultramarine there and the ultramarine there, they're both equally pigmented. Oh, I haven't put the pigment number on the violet rose there. I forgot to do that. Never mind. But anyway, that pretty much sums up the Ladoga paints and what they really are. They're an artist quality paint. You know, simply put, they're an artist quality paint that doesn't contain cadmiums or cobalts. And underneath the veil of Ladoga, they're really White Nights paints. But actually at a fraction of a cheaper price. And again, we'll come to that in a minute because these really work out to be one of the best value paints you can get. Now, if we look at the Sonnet range here, you'll notice we've got PY3 and we've got PY3 there on the Ladoga range. They're calling it Hansa Lemon in the Sonnet and they're calling it Lemon in the Ladoga range. We haven't got a match for the yellow and the yellow medium, although the colours look very, very similar. One's PY154 and the other one's just PY1. And the Lightfast rating for this one is only a 2. And that's something I've just noticed actually about the Sonnet Watercolours. The Lightfast rating is pretty good, but we have got 1, 2, 3 pigments in this set which only have a 1-star rating. We've got quite a few 2s and 3s, you know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 3-star ratings there with, how many 2s have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2-star ratings. And when we compare that ratio with the White Nights and the Ladoga, We've got, I think the Violet Rose is a 1-star as well. I should have written that down. I mean, if I look at the Violet Light there, it looks the same, doesn't it? It's identical. I'm pretty certain that's the same pigment, so I would only class that as a 1-star rating. So we've got, oh, I've not put it down for the turquoise either. I've missed 1 or 2 off, but anyway. So we've probably got only a couple of 1-star ratings in here. Oh no, there's another one there. And another one there, actually. So we've got quite a few, actually, in the Ladoga range. But again, we've got quite a lot of 3s and 2s and everything. So it's kind of fairly even. But when you start getting into the White Nights range, there isn't any 1s that I can see in the paints that I've got. And there's only 2 pigments there with a 2-star rating. So how they're putting these sets together is quite interesting, really, because I think to keep the price low on things like the Ladoga, they've used the sort of the Series 1, if you like, pigments. When I say Series 1, I don't mean the Lightfast rating, I just mean there's kind of 2 series with the White Nights paint. Series 1, Series 2. Series 1 paints are a little bit cheaper, Series 2 paints are a little bit dearer because of the pigments used, like cobalts, cadmiums, etc. And that's why they've been left out of the Ladoga set. So these are all pretty much Series 1 pigments. I think that's done to, you know, obviously to keep the cost down and to provide you with a nice, inexpensive set of paints there. But interestingly, we've got a few pigment matches, going back to the Sonnet Watercolours, with some of the other paints here. For example, Burnt Umber. I mean, these are fairly standard colours anyway, which is the same pigment number as Ladoga. An interesting one, actually, is the Sap Green. Now, in the Sonnet range, they're calling Sap Green, well, PY3 and PG7, and in the Ladoga range, they're calling it Yellowish Green, but it's exactly the same pigment number, exactly the same, and the same with the Sonnet Green, PG8, PG8, in the Ladoga range, but again, in the White Nights, that's PG8 as well. So we've got 3 matches there for pigment numbers, and if we kind of look at those 3 colours there together, again, the pigment load in all of them is pretty good. You know, when I look at the Sonnet compared to the White Nights, there's not a lot in it, really. They're the same pigment number. You know, and that's why I was getting confused about, are these really student quality paints? They really, you know, have got that vibrancy and pigment load of an artist quality paint. So anyway, I mean, I hope that kind of clears it up for you, because a few people ask, you know, what exactly is the Ladoga range? Is it, you know, sort of a cheap artist quality? I was confused as well, but when you look at it, it shares the same pigment numbers as the White Nights artist quality range, but just without the cadmiums, that's all. That's the only real difference. Now, I've got the prices just written in front of me, actually. I'll just kind of quickly read those off. These are all the prices from the Crafty Studio website. That's where I've got all the prices and the sets from. So a 12 pan, in fact, let me just bring some, I can actually show you some of these as we go along. This is my old 12 pan set of White Nights. So for this very set with 12 colours and this palette, which I really don't like, I must be honest, but the colours are fantastic. For a 12 pan set with a plastic box, plastic palette, that's going to cost you £21.89. Now for a 12 pan set with a metal box, that's going to cost you £29.79. Now for a 21 pan set with a metal box, this is the dearest one, that's going to cost you £51.22. But now you can buy a 24 pan set with a plastic palette, and that's this palette here, this giant palette here, which holds 36 paints. You'll get a set of 24 in there, which you can then add to because you'll have more space, for only £41.91. So going back to the 21 metal box set for 51 or the 24 plastic palette for 41, I think that's probably a better buy, actually. Now all of these paints come in a choice of a palette or just a plain old, you know, cardboard box. And the cardboard box version of 24 pans in the White Knights range is £37.25. I worked that out to actually be £1.55 for each pan. If we take the cardboard boxes, because we can easily divide the pans down into those, and we've not got to equate the metal box or the plastic pallet or whatever into it, just the cardboard boxes, if you divide that with the price, that's what they work out at, £1.55 each. And we'll do the other two while we're at it. The Ladoga, they work out at £1.04 each for the 24 card set, and the Sonnet come in a 16 pan card set or a 21 pan metal palette, and I've also seen that, this is not on the website, but I have seen them come in a 24 card set as well, but I haven't got prices for those. Now it works out, you know, if you were to buy the 16 sets in a cardboard box of Sonnet Watercolours, it works out at 64 pence per pan, which is nothing really, is it? And I've done the Ladoga, haven't I? That's, yeah, 104, so it's 64p, £1.04 and £1.55. That's what they work out to be each if you buy them in the card sets. Obviously they're going to work out a lot dearer than that if you buy in the pallet box, because you've got to equate that into the, you know, the price there. Now, just to put this into some kind of perspective for you, I was on another website and I was looking at Cotman half pans, which, as you know, Cotman are a student range, and to buy one half pan, which is half the amount of any of the pans in these sets, to buy one Cotman half pan, it costs £1.84. So when you think £1.55, £1.04 and 64p for a whole pan, not a half pan, a whole pan, you know, £1.55 for an artist quality whole pan compared to £1.89 for a half pan of student quality paint, it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is just incredible value, it really is. And when we compare them, you know, let's do an apples to apples comparison here. If we actually buy the White Knights pans separately, not just for £1.55 is what they work out to be when you buy the set. If you have to buy them individually, they do actually cost £1.97 each. And for the Series 2, £2.93 is one of the dearest pigments you can get there. But generally they're kind of just under £2, £1.97 is what they work out individually to buy them individually. Winsor & Newton whole pans, they're like £5.50 for their Series 1. So £5.50 compared to £1.97, or if you want to take it to the extreme, £1.55, you know. Let's put it this way, these are artist quality paints, there's 24 in the set, and if they work out to be, you know, if you buy the set of 24, that means you're paying £1.04 per pan, compared to paying £5 plus for roughly the same amount of paint in another manufacturer's artist quality. So basically you'd have to buy 5 Winsor & Newton or another manufacturer's artist quality, 5 of their whole pans, which would cost you £25, well, more than £25. You're actually better off to buy this set of 24 colours for the same money. So you can either buy 24 colours or 5 colours of another manufacturer's brand. So essentially you're getting 20 colours for nothing compared to other manufacturers' brands. It's incredible, isn't it, when you work it out and look at it that way. Now, just going back to the prices again, you can buy, and I'll show you the set that you can buy. I've got these as well, the White Knights in tubes, 12 set of tubes, and they're on the website for £25 and 14 pence. And again, you can buy them individually. These work out a little bit dearer actually. For a 10mm tube, these actually cost £3.18 each per tube. So a little bit more expensive to buy them that way. And just quickly give you the price as well for the Sonnet. So it's so for 16, a card set of 16 is £10.24. And for the 21 pan set, which is this, which you've seen me review a couple of weeks ago. That's £20.49, but you do get a metal palette with that. So with all things considered, and bearing in mind that a lot of these colours, even though they may have tweaked the names a little bit, they do in fact share the same pigment numbers. It seems like the obvious thing to do is go for the White Knights, because you can buy their pans individually, whereas you can't buy the Sonnet pans individually, you only have to buy the sets, and the same with Ladoga. But like I mentioned at the start of the video, essentially they are White Knights paints anyway, so yes, in theory you can replace the pigments in here because they are the same. So most people will go for the White Knights set, even though it's a little bit dearer, purely for the fact that they can get open stock, they can get the tube paints, and they are really readily available. And you do get a wide choice of different palette configurations, you know, metal palettes, plastic palettes, all in different sizes. And yes, the White Knights are the ones that I went for first of all. I think I've had my set now for, I don't know, about 4 years or so. I've even bought spare pans to replace some of the ones that I've used, and I've really enjoyed using them. But the Ladoga paints have really thrown a spanner in the works, because, like I mentioned earlier, you know, for a 24 card set for £25, you know, it works out at £1.04 each for artist quality pans. I think these are actually the best buy. Particularly, you know, in these times at the minute when everybody's a bit short of money, and you know, they're probably spending more time painting and getting through the paints quick, and they can't afford to replace them as they're using them. These are a great option, a really good option. If you've already got a palette, in fact, you don't even need a palette. I mean, I use these basically with one of the trays that clipped off the palette. I mean, you could use, you know, a ceramic dinner plate or a plastic food display tray or something, and just use these straight out of the box, paint with them that way. But if, you know, you've already got a palette that you could house these in, or you don't mind using them out of the cardboard box, you know, that's fine. But I think the best value for money out of all of them, you know, quality to price ratio, is without doubt the Ladoga 24 set, without doubt. You know, if you forgot all the prices and everything that I've mentioned here, if you go over to Crafty Studio, you know, and you look on their page where all of the St. Petersburg paints and palettes and everything are, and do the comparison yourself, and you'll see the pan sizes, the palette sizes with the amounts of pans in and all the variations, and you can work it out for yourself. And I think you'll come to the same conclusion that these do offer the best value for money. And what I would recommend is, you know, if you're trying to save a few pennies but still get a lot of bang for your buck, as it were, I would recommend buying these, and as you use them up, then replace them with the single pans, the whole pans from the White Knights range. Because like I say, they share the same pigment numbers, you know. And like I say, if you didn't want to replace these with cadmium yellows, you wanted to keep that kind of non-toxic palette thing going, there will be colours in the White Knights range which don't contain cadmiums, which will be these colours here, but just under a different name. But another good option, I think, is the 24 pan palette set. Because, I mean, this palette is enormous. It's massive. You know, to get 24 pans of White Knights paints in with that, and still have space left so that you could build on the set, because you might not like all 24 of the colours that you get. You might want to not get rid of them, keep them there just for emergencies or when the situation arises that you need that specific colour. But you might want to buy a few extra pans, keep them all in one place. I think to buy the 24 set outright with this palette box, and then build upon your palette of paints, your collection of paints, I think is a really good option there. And this box with 24, is it 24? Yes, sorry, 24 White Knights paints in it, comes in at £41.91. Yes, it's a lot dearer. You know, it is a lot dearer than the Ladoga paints, that's for sure, but you're not getting a nice large palette with them, and you're getting more sort of series 1 colours with that, you know, and all the rest of it. But still, you know, to me that is the best buy so far. Or if you just want to buy this palette separately, I haven't got prices for the palette actually on its own, but I'm sure they're up there on the website, because they did actually send me this. So you could buy this palette on its own and the Ladoga set, and like I say, you still have more space in your palette to replace them, to add to your collection there by using the White Nights pans. I think that's another really good option there. But I think you can't go wrong with the Ladoga paints. The colour selection is really pretty nice in there. Like I say, it's non-toxic as well. You know, you've got no cadmiums, no cobalts or anything like that. But with all of these pre-made palettes, pre-made sets, I don't think there's anybody that's going to be 100% happy with the colour selection. Everybody's going to have their own personal taste and think, oh, I wish I didn't have that. I'd rather have had cobalt blue instead of turquoise blue. Or, you know, there's always going to be that element, isn't there, to buying watercolours, you know, in box sets. But it does work out cheaper. It does work out a lot cheaper, like I proved. You know, these work out at £1.55 each if you buy the 24 cardboard box set of them, compared to £1.90 odd, was it, I said, you know, if you buy them separately. So if you can put up with a few colours that you don't like, I think you're going to save a lot of money by buying a full set. But I honestly don't think you'll go wrong, and you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed with whichever set you choose. Again, I'm totally impressed with the Sonnet range. I mean, if you're really short of money, but you're really looking for some nice quality paints, and again, if transparency is your thing, these are the paints to go for. The White Nights, some of them can be quite a bit more opaque. If we just compare their red light to their cadmium red, if I hold that fairly close to the camera there, can you see how the cadmium red is a lot more opaque as it goes over the black line there? So some of the colours in the White Night set can be a little bit more opaque, but these are lovely and transparent, and they're very strong, very nice colours to use. In fact, I actually prefer their gold ochre over the standard yellow ochre, and I really like their yellow ochre. So there's some colours in here which I will use anyway on my palette, because they're just really nice colours. And like I say, the deep green, it's the same as the Russian green in the White Nights paint. It's exactly the same paint. The same in the Ladoga series. So you can't go wrong. The colours are so sort of equally matched in quality and pigment numbers that it's hard to really tell a lot of difference between any of them. You know, when you swatch them out, it's like I say, you can tell a difference with transparency with these, that's for sure. But that doesn't mean they're weaker. No, they're just as strongly pigmented. But it's just the way that they've been made and the pigments that they've used, you know, to make them more transparent. And plus, you know, the 21 set there, I think, if I remember rightly, there's only 24 colours in this range anyway, which is the full set. The same with the Ladoga, there's only 24 colours in that range. But like I say, they're really White Nights, so there's a lot more really if you replace them with White Nights. And I think there's, oh, I can't remember now, I think it's almost 60 paints of regular colours in the White Nights. And they've just recently brought out a few more with some metallics and pastel colours. So there's probably maybe 60 odd paints, or possibly more, to choose from with the White Nights range. But obviously you don't need that many paints, that's for sure. I mean, I generally use a palette of 12 colours, and only ever use kind of 4 or 5 in any one painting. So, you know, a set of 21 is more than enough. And out of all of these box sets that I've got, I can easily choose a set of somewhere between 8 or 12 colours to make up, you know, a perfectly good palette for me with whichever set I choose. And it honestly wouldn't bother me which palette I pull out of my drawer when I go to do a painting. I feel confident using any of them. That's the kind of effect they have on you. You know, St. Petersburg paints, like I said in all the other videos, I think offer the best price to quality ratio of any other manufacturer, watercolour paint manufacturer out there. And I can remember about 4 years ago when I first got my first set of White Knights, hardly anybody was using them at the time. And when I look through YouTube now, there's loads and loads and loads of reviews, and people using White Knights paints. They have really taken off in the last few years. They seem to be a firm favourite with a lot of people, and me too. I've also got another palette which I set up for tube paints. It's a metal fold-out palette. You've probably seen me using it a few times in my YouTube videos. I kind of just squeeze the tube paints out into that and use it from that. So I do actually really enjoy using them. But what I have found is they do take some getting used to when it comes to colour mixing because of the strength of them, compared to some of the paints that I'm used to using. So you do have to kind of just spend a little bit more time practicing your colour mixing and getting to know and understand the colours a little bit more than you would do, with your regular paints. So I hope that's helped you out there. I hope that's helped you to make a decision on, which ones to go for. Like I say, my first choice really would be these, Ladoga. I really highly rate those paints. And of course we've got the White Knights there as well. If you can afford them, money's no object. I mean, these are still ridiculously inexpensive paints compared to a lot of artist quality paints out there. But if you are really struggling for money, these are a great option. But if you want to just go that little bit extra, I think they are the best bets. But without doubt, these are your best value paints out of all of them. Particularly if you've got a palette to house them in or a plastic tray to mix them on, you'll be fine. Now, one other quick thing I should mention, if you go onto the website, St. Petersburg website or Crafty Studio, they're putting the colour charts up there now. If you're one of these people that's really into your pigment numbers and you want to do the detective work, to actually compare pigment numbers between the Ladoga and the White Knights and see which are the same, which you can get replacements for and all that, I would go on there and have a look at the colour charts and you'll see what I mean. A lot of them, like I say, share the same pigment numbers and the same names in most cases, but some of the names have been changed a little bit. But like I said, I didn't want this video to be one of those videos where we go through all of the pigment numbers, all of the colours, and we make comparisons and it goes on for hours. I just wanted to give this kind of final conclusion and comparison video to help you basically make a decision if you are interested, in buying a set of the St. Petersburg paints. So again, I hope this video's helped you to do that. If you want a more in-depth look at some of the colours and see them in use, like I say, there'll be a playlist in the description below. There'll be a link there for you with individual videos for the Sonnet, Ladoga and White Knights. And also don't forget to check out Crafty Studio as well. Great company to deal with. I've started buying from them now quite regularly. They've got a good selection of paints there, good prices, excellent packing. I've been totally impressed, from start to finish, from using these paints to, buying these paints, having deliveries from them. The whole experience has just been completely positive. So, like I say, check out Crafty Studio. And again, I want to give them a big thank you for sending me these paints. They've been a joy to use. And you've got yourself a new customer with me, that's for sure. Okay, so that kind of concludes the whole series there of St. Petersburg paints. Thanks for watching, everybody, and as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.